Well, the beginning feels a bit empty, and it's a little too late to find another vocalist. So, what do you think about doing this?
And we're on. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Last Week Liquid podcast. Today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Duncan, better known as Winslow. Based out of St. Louis, Missouri in the US, Winslow is a drum and bass producer with releases on the likes of Goldfat, Pilot and Solvent. Recently he announced that he had signed with Hospital Records, one of the biggest achievements one can claim in the drum and bass world, followed by his first EP on the label Sandalwood Nights. He is also an acclaimed YouTuber, music teacher, singer, Discord leader, podcaster, humorist and tea lover. Duncan, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Really good. That was a great intro, by the way.
Did I miss out anything or?
No, I think, man, I don't know if I can live up to half of those things, but yeah, it was great.
I had to put in tea lover because I felt like half of 2020 was spent on talking about tea and Teagate and all that stuff.
Why is it still going on? I don't know, but yeah.
Well, you did make a track called "A Man and His Kettle," so I mean that's like now it's like in your discography. So, but yeah, no. How are you doing, man? How are things?
Pretty good. Just kind of trying to take all this, new news stuff and all the attention. I guess just trying to take it a day at a time because it's a lot, and I knew it was coming, and I thought I was prepped. I'll be ready for this. This is a big thing, but it'll just kind of blow over, and it's nope. Every day is something, and I know it's one thing to whine about, but at the same time, it's still brand new to have this kind of attention. And while I'm excited, I'm also just leave me alone for a second. But so wrap it up. I'm good, I guess. I'm all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably good to mention that I actually reached out to you maybe 6 months ago to come on the show. So at that point, I had no idea you had signed to Hospital. So in my defense, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of this guy's on Hospital.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how would you? Because obviously I want to dig into that and how all of that came to be. But so what's your state of mind today? Are you because I think it's fine to say if you feel anxious or whatever.
Yeah.
But what's your state of mind today?
Definitely anxious. I think more on myself, just because it's settling. I don't know. I've known about it for a while, so I feel I had some time to calm down. But since the announcement, it's all fresh again, and I'm going through the whole stage of, okay, now the first project's out. I got to get working on the next one. It's I can just say when I want to do the next thing mostly. But it's I gotta work on the next thing. I gotta follow it up. People are expecting things, and all it is me in my head. Just I'm bored, and that's how I fill up my time. Just giving myself these unnecessary expectations. But overall, I'm optimistic because it's it really is. It can be whatever I want it to be. Just about. It's just. It's the unknown and the known, I guess. What can happen? There's always they could drop me next week. What did I do wrong? And then there's everything else, what you, I guess, would expect from somebody signing with Hospital, all the projects and whatever else comes out of it. So yeah, anxious, optimistic. If I could bottle it in two emotions.
Yeah, no, I can't start to imagine what it would feel like to sign to a label. I've talked about this on pretty much every episode, but Netsky's first album was a huge influence on me into just discovering what drum and bass was. So if I were ever to achieve that, not his level, but just to sign to Hospital, I'd be what the hell am I doing here? This idol of mine, I'm sure you have your own on Hospital. It's what am I doing here?
Right. It's you just reminded me of that exact feeling. It's because I guess I'm more like we're all aware of ourselves more than anyone else. So it's just like immediately start comparing. So like you just said, so there's Netsky's album, there's High Contrast, there's Logistics and New Tone and everyone, and then like how do I fit into all of this? It's like what are they seeing that I don't see? And like part of me is like I know given enough time, like I could get to I don't know, feeling like I'm measuring up to whatever I'm kind of setting. I don't know what I'm saying, but like I'm worth it, or that's a weird way to put it, but
No, I
like
see what you mean. Yeah.
I can level up to that or something. But right now, I'm like, are you guys sure you signed the right person? Do you really think me? And they're like, no, no, we're cool. We're serious. We see it. And like, okay, I'm just gonna listen to you. You guys are the experts, so if you'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that same sense sometimes with like just releasing music, and
Hmm.
by the time like it comes out, like you hate your tracks because it's like
Yeah.
6 months later or whatever. But like what I come back to, like just on my level, is that if a label accepted tracks of mine and
Hmm.
it's a label that I like admire or enjoy, it's like, okay, I trust them with the decision, so I
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
push it off to them. I guess it's
Man,
the same, yeah.
yeah, it took me a while to kind of like I'm doing all this like freaking out and I don't know what I'm doing, but I mean I still like rationalize it like they picked me for a reason. When I send them a demo, like they have like some idea of what to expect or cuz I mean like when we I guess like the first meeting I had, it was just with like Tony Coleman, London Electricity and Chris Goss. And they started talking about all these things like they saw me do. I was like, you guys been watching me for this long? And they're like, yeah. So it's like you realize that you don't realize that like you're on someone's like radar until they want you to know that they know,
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it's trying to get all this together and just like how does this fit?
yeah,
How do I fit? But
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think that also like you have to remember like hospital is it's also a business. Like they're
Mhm,
not
yeah.
just like taking random shots and see what sticks. Like they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
like almost a business case, I imagine, behind the artists that they sign and like what
Mhm.
they see, etc. So that's the way I would like rationalize it if ever it
Yeah.
would like happen to me. It's like they're business people. Like they know what like if this goes
Mhm.
wrong, it's their fault basically.
I
Which
mean,
I'm
yeah,
sure it
that's
won't. But
no. Uh, no, you're
yeah.
right. Yeah.
So walk me back to the like those first meetings or like first interactions.
Mhm.
Do you remember like the first time? I guess you do. Like first time they reached out to you. Obviously, you did
Mhm.
that remix of New Tone, so I guess you were like in contact there.
Yeah.
But walk me through like those first steps.
Yeah. So I think that was like if there's a whole timeline from like when they first reached out to like the signing announcement, and like the remix was kind of in the middle because I think they asked me in like November, and then yeah. But okay, so the beginning, it was Tony messaged me on Instagram, I think, and just was like it wasn't even anything about. Well, I'd like to think it wasn't anything about hospital. I mean, we were just like talking like music stuff, and then we are talking about records, and like I think I did like a Instagram like video or something, just like playing through like a couple like tunes on piano or something, and I tried playing one of his, and he like messaged me. He's like, "Oh, this chord was one thing off, but you're really close. That was cool." And then we started talking, and then he was like, "Yeah, I can kind of hear that in your music and all these influences and stuff." And then we kind of messaged back and forth, like every now and then. But then, like a month later after that, I think it might have been July of last year. It was just like a kind of a regular. I mean, regular for whatever it is. It's still like London Electricity. So
Yeah, it's never
yeah. So
entirely regular.
yeah. So like as much as I'm trying to be like, oh yeah, he's just a guy. Like, no, that's the guy you've been listening to for like so many years that you can just, every little intricacy of his albums, and it's like, oh, but he's just a guy. But then there's like a break in the conversation, and I was like doing chores or something around the house. I was like washing dishes or something, and then he messages me. He's like, so I think it was along the lines of, "Would you feel at home on hospital?"
Jesus.
And then I look at it, I'm just like, I just
He's
stared at the message for at least an hour. I didn't. I stopped doing everything and just stood like in the middle of the kitchen with like water running. I'm like, what is this real?
yeah. Where's the prank?
And then,
Where's the hidden camera?
yeah, exactly. And it, like when I finally calm myself down, like an hour or two later, I'm like, I should just play it cool. Like, yeah, I mean, hospital's all right, you know, it's cool. But at the same time, just
And
like,
in
I
your
don't want
head,
to be
it's like, yes, please, list.
yeah. It's like, where do I sign right now? Just take it. You know? But I was like, you know, I've always kind of, and then I like send him like an actual thought out message. I'm like, you know, I like always considered it. I never, it's not that I was aiming for hospital, but I've always been aiming for something like that, I guess, to where maybe not being signed, but it's just like getting to a point where, or like working with someone or a label or whatever, that I can just like work with, have like a working relationship, release music at like a, I don't know, more like an elevated level, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm working up to this. Like I thought, yeah, at some point I'll have like a release or something on hospital, like a compilation, cool. Like, you know, check off that box like everyone wants to do. But I didn't think it'd be like this, and I didn't think it'd be this soon. So
Mm.
yeah, I kind of told him. Well, I didn't go that far, but I was just like, yeah, that that'd be really cool. I'm kind of working towards something like that. He was like, yeah, cool, because I kind of see that, and he started talking. He's like, you know what, I'll keep in touch. And then that, and then it was like quiet for like a month or two. I was like, so okay, so what happened there? It's like I don't want to be the guy who's like, hey, you know, you asked me this question.
Yeah, yeah,
Can't
yeah.
we just go back to it real quick?
You can't bring it up again.
Yeah. And then I got like just out of the blue, like an email from Chris Goss about the just like wanting to chat, just like have a meeting. And then like a week or two later, I had like I had to get up at like 5 a.m. because you know the time difference.
Mm.
And then I'm talking to Tony and Chris like over Zoom. Tony's walking his dog in the park, and you can like hear the squeaky toy and stuff in the background. And he's just asking me questions. I'm like, this is too like normal. What's going on here?
Something's not right.
Yeah, he's just like literally on his phone, just like sitting under a tree while his dog runs around in circles. And they're like, yeah, so your music, and we see you do this, and what do you think about hospital? Because we might have like be able to take on a new artist in like a year or so. And I'm trying my hardest to play it like, yeah, you know, that makes sense. You know, I was thinking I'm like working on this, and inside I'm just like, oh my God, are they serious right now? Just started freaking out. And yeah, that was like, I think it was August or something like that, because I had just started school or something. So I'm trying to like get the timeline right. And then like it was like that intro meeting, and it was like, yeah, we'll keep in touch, keep sending us music. We kind of have this loose plan for if things go right, or not right, but if things want to move forward and you decide you want to keep reaching out and stuff. And then I thought that was it, just kind of like meeting. Yeah, they'll check back in a little bit. A week later, they're like, we need a remix for Degs. So can you? Exactly. It's like every time I think that's kind of it. It's like the next day or two, or a week, there's like a new thing. It's like, we need a remix for Degs. And like when some guy like pulled out or something happened, they're like, we need it in 2 weeks. Can you do it? It's like, I'm not gonna say no, but I don't know if I can do it or not. Not gonna pass this up. And then that whole thing happened, and kind of it worked. I don't know. Yeah.
Did you have any? Because I talked about same subject with Might Kiss a few episodes back, and when they first reached out to him, he was like, "Nah, not interested." And from his perspective, it was more like not being tied to one label and having freedom to release himself or other labels, whatever. And then he eventually got a call from Tony, who explained to him hospital and ethos and everything that it means to be a hospital artist, and then it really spoke to him, and he jumped on board. Did you have any reservations about signing to hospital? Because I think it's fair to have reservations
Yeah,
in
yeah,
any
yeah.
case. So, um,
Definitely. Or I definitely like thought about it, and I've had like a lot of time because nothing was finalized until February, and I was just like every day I'm thinking about, is this what I want? Is this how's this going to work out? You know, I've heard not just about hospital, just like labels in general and things like that. And up until then, I was mostly doing things myself with like self releasing, and then I had only just started working like with Gold Fat that year because Johnny reached out, and then Solvent later in the year, which was which was funny because like I had talked with Jack, who's Pola and Bryson,
mhm.
at Solvent about like the same thing about like working with Solvent long term.
Yeah.
And like a week later, Tony's like, "Nope, we're talking to you now." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys were doing that." I was like, "I didn't know either, man. I'm sorry."
Oh, so you actually approached Sullivan before hospital approached you?
yeah they can't because they were just like, "Oh, we didn't know," because it's the usual like we didn't know any American artists or that kind of thing. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's me and maybe two other people, but it's me. So,
Mm.
but yeah, about like what you're asking, like there's always like you can do things independently or with the label or like there's just so many options. And what I came to is like at this stage, I've done up until this point, I've done basically everything I can do up to like what they're doing. Like what hospital, like the plans and stuff, how they plan things out is where I was kind of moving myself. Like with having like release almost campaigns and things thought out, and like I've always been very much like, okay, I got the music side. I'm good with the music. Like I can write a tune. That's the easy part. It really is the easy part out of like when it comes down to trying marketing and come up with like plans and like all this stuff to like get people to listen, because that's the hardest part. Like I can write songs all day every day, but trying to convince someone to listen to it is the
Mm.
hard part. So they like kind of notice that like we see like how much thought you put outside of just writing music, and we want to help you with that. And it came to the point, it was like I could keep doing this all myself, or I could just kind of offload that side to someone that's trying to help me out and
Yeah.
to like we're all I can just handle the music part more or less. Like I still come up with ideas and stuff and like everything that I would normally do. But now I'm just like, hey, person at hospital who handles the promo stuff, this
Mm.
is my plan. What do you think? And they're just like, yeah, do it. And we'll help you out with our hundreds of thousands of fans everywhere. I'm like, cool.
Sounds
It's like,
good.
yeah, it's like now my dumb ideas aren't just limited to my few friends.
And your
It's
bedroom.
everybody. So, but it's just like it's me. I see it as having like this. I mean, it is what it is. It's like a huge resource that you can take advantage of, and some artists don't see it as that. They see it as limiting, but it's only limiting a lot of the times when you don't speak up for yourself.
Mm.
Because in the like a lot of times when you hear bad stories, of course, there's some labels that are like predatory and will like just we took your track, we're taking half your royalties, deal with it. What are you gonna do about it? But there's space in there to say, hey, I want to do this, or I want to try this, or can you do this for me? Because in the end, it is an agreement. It is a deal between like two parties
Yeah.
to help each other. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like I supply the music, you supply the platform,
Yeah.
the everything else, and the label doesn't like you can be a label, but you
Mm.
need music, and I can always write music, or someone. There's always going to be like the people that write music, but and they can exist by themselves, but a label isn't. I mean, a label is just like what is that without music, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you have to find. So there has to be that balance that I just thought of like a big word that I don't know them.
Yeah,
I don't know,
go for
like
it.
symbiotic relationship. There you go.
I like it.
It's just like one. Yeah, I know. I can have one good idea every one of these, but
That's
it's
going on
just
the
like,
quote of the episode.
yeah, it's just like there's got to be give and take on both sides, but you have to know when to speak up for yourself. I think like a year ago, if this happened, or it did happen a year ago, so 2 years ago, I would have been I wouldn't have known, and then I probably would have been like, wait, I don't know if I'm ready for this now, just because like I didn't know what I want. I was just kind of figuring out things, but once they did ask me like last year, I'm like, yeah, I want to do this is what I want out of this. I know, I mean, of course, it's hospitals, like it's a dream, it's all of that, but it's also a business,
Yeah.
and like my job as the artist is to do what I can do, and their job as the label is to do what they can do, and once that's like understood or taken care of, it's just like it is kind of just fun, and
Yeah.
let's ride this ride.
Yeah.
But it's the overwhelming part of it's the business still, and I think that's what scares a lot of people away, and what also provides a lot of reservation.
Mm.
They're like, oh, they're gonna take over, they're gonna change me. It's like, no, most of the time that's the changes that you don't like, or the things that happen that you don't like, is a lot of times you just not speaking up for yourself.
Mm.
And maybe I'm getting a little too like deep into that because that's kind of not what you asked, but I kind of got
No,
around
no,
to that
go
somehow.
go for it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, no, but I definitely agree with what you said, that it's not just like, I was just making the parallel in my mind that I started a job recently, for example, and I was doing interviews in the months leading up to the job with different companies, and an interview for like a regular office job like I have is not just a question of please take me, I want to, like, I need work. It's also like, do I fit with your company? Like, do you really want me in your company? Do I want to work in this job? Like, it's that two-way street that you're talking about. And obviously it's very similar with signing to a label, because it is also a business relationship beyond the music. So it would make sense that, yeah, you need to speak up for yourself and say, okay, this is what I envision, this is what I want to achieve, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it took me. You just like really pointed that out. It's like you more or less are a business partner.
Yeah.
So you gotta have that line of communication, and it's not. Somebody else just thought it's not just at like the level of Hospital or Shogun or Critical or whatever. These big labels, like you can do it at any point. And I think that's kind of what scares a lot of people, especially when you're new. It's just like, oh, they're giving me a release, I should be grateful. It's no, they need you. I mean, you got to kind of be realistic. It's like you might not have that much of a bargaining chip right now being the new person, but you can still speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to just take whatever somebody offers you. Like the next, oh, you want to release? Cool. Well, we're not going to promote it, or we're not going to do this, or all the things that happen as a younger, or not young, but like newer, less experienced. Kind of like I've made all these mistakes, signed things I shouldn't have signed, released tunes that I look back like that was not ready. Like what did they want? But yeah, it's all part of the journey, I guess.
Yeah. I think we all go through it. Like I've only been releasing since last year, and I have a upcoming EP with my wife is singing on it, and it's her first time like writing melodies and stuff, and she was listening back to another track she sent out lyrics for, vocals for, and she was like, oh no, I shouldn't have sent it, I really like it's not good. And I was telling her, like, even this release upcoming, like she loves it now, in 6 months you're gonna hate it, and that's just the way it is. So you better get used to it.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah, I'm just now getting to the point where like I feel like I'm 6 months after that 6 months, and now I'm starting to like some of them again.
Okay, that's good.
And not think of it as just like the project file.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I feel like we all kind of go through it. It's like you're just so into it while you're writing it that you can't think of it as like the whole of what it is. You're just like, oh yeah, I remember working on that drum loop, and I remember putting in this sound, and right here this happens. And like you think of it as a math problem for so long until you hate it. And then after a while you're like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good song. It's not like this thing I made.
I think
so
it, yeah,
recently. Yeah.
it just takes time to forget the project, like to forget
Yeah.
the, because for a very long time you can remember the session, like you can see the tracks and the mixer and everything. And once a year goes by or something, you've kind of forgotten about that because you're on
Mm.
other tracks. And then if you listen back, you can listen to it better for what it is. And
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
can
yeah.
decide, okay, maybe it was a mistake or maybe it's really good. And then it's
Right.
50-50. But yeah, cool. Just coming back to what you were saying on like young producers and not taking like speaking up for yourself even with your early
Mm.
releases. One thing that you did very early on was just like self-release, and
Yeah.
I think you're like, at least in drum and bass, like all your first releases were self-releases.
Mm.
How did you look back on that choice, I guess, you made? Because I'm still on the fence on self releases, and we can get
Yeah.
into that later. But how did you look back on that like journey of starting to self release yourself?
I think wholly just looking back on it, I think it was a positive thing. Like what I set out to do, it was less like for me, it was less about necessarily like the writing music. It was just kind of like the learning the process of releasing and then everything that goes with that. Like the from like the metadata and scheduling and oops, I forgot to write the name correctly and now it's in Spotify wrong or it got rejected. Learning that whole process and then designing terrible artwork, basically Microsoft Paint level.
Yeah,
Like, let's put this together with my demo of Photoshop. No idea what I was doing, but it's just, it's like that incremental process of learning to do it all yourself and kind of wear all the hats and, you know, be your own, like, head of department, I guess is a way to put it. That helped me kind of, I think it's why I'm like I kind of know what's going on now. Like I did my best to kind of learn every little thing that goes on to where we're in like the position I am now. I can just like, hey, though, so you're like actually a department person that handles just artwork,
yeah,
or you handle just like digital releases. I know a little bit like about this, so I'm not just kind of sitting in like a conversation like, huh, that's a cool idea. I don't know what
yeah.
you're talking about, but you seem professional.
Sounds very businessy to me.
Yeah, but and then there's also out of just like the business, I don't know, clerical work side, there's you being able to take charge of what you're doing. Like you schedule your releases, you don't have to wait for an entire year for something to come out. You know, if something hits, it's because of you. It's some if something like flops or I don't know, it's probably not the best term, but like it's all on you. And if you take it as like just learning, no matter what happens,
Mhm.
you're constantly progressing as just like a more well-rounded artist, I think,
Yeah.
and just more. Um, I keep saying business, but I don't feel like that's the right word. Like you're business minded, but you're more
Yeah.
just like
But
you get the
business is
bigger picture. Yeah,
business is fine. I feel like business is like this bad word in music.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I studied business and I work in
Mm,
like big business and stuff. But I
yeah,
love music. I'm doing a podcast like dedicated to drum and
right,
bass.
right.
And yeah, I don't know. Business isn't a bad word. Like there's a big part of music that is
Mm,
business if you want people to hear your
yeah,
music, and that's just a fact.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I think so. Just like going through self releases and learning like that process from like the first one, like when I had no idea what I was doing, to the last one where I got it into the hands of like Dave Jenkins at UKF, and he was like loving the tracks. Like, where'd you come from? How'd you do all this? I'm like, I'm just like slowly building up. Zero social life, by the way, but I learned all these cool things on them over those years. Yeah, but it stemmed from like me just realizing at some point like I could release on like these smaller labels and like it'd be fine, but there's a point in that I like, you know, you realize that like a lot of the like for the music I was releasing, it really wasn't that great. But I mean,
Mm.
you can get any song on a label, really,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do. And I've already done like the tick off. I got a label release, so now it's just like, what can these labels, again, because it's like it's a give and take. What can these labels do for me? It's like, well, I could learn to do all these things, get whatever little bit of royalties I get back 100%, and
Mm.
still learn something in the process,
Mm.
instead of give my song away, get 50 cents out of the dollar that I make out of it, and then someone just kind of, it just sits in somebody's library
Mm.
for a while. And it's like, if I can just learn to do these things, why not just take that time, because it'll be worth it in the end.
Mm.
But it's such a drag to learn. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I love it, but it's such like, if your mind's not set on learning things and failing a lot just to learn in the process and like figure things out, it can hurt that much more, because you are responsible for your success even more than like normal.
Yeah.
Like, you can write a great track and then give it to a label and they do no promotion, so it does nothing. But if you write a great track and you're the one that didn't do the good job, then it's like you can only blame yourself at that point.
Yeah.
There's so, like, anything, it's so complicated, but I feel like it's worth it in the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there has to be a level of commitment to
Hmm.
like artwork and promotion. Like you can't really half-ass these
No.
things. Like your artwork, either it looks good or it doesn't, and like you have to put
Yeah.
in. And that's like one, I don't know, like not an issue, but like reservation I have about self-releasing is that like like should you be good at everything, like, or
Mm.
should you like focus, because that's time you're not spending on making music. And
Yeah.
I feel sometimes as a up and coming producer you should be focusing all your time on music and then delegating the rest to people
Mm.
that know how to do it. That's still possible while self-releasing, like it's not
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
one or the other. But yeah, that's like one area where like I don't know, it's up to everybody. The other thing I'm also always curious about when you self-release is quality control. And obviously
Oh, yeah.
if you're aiming for tiny labels, then you might not always have that quality control. But if you're aiming for just like not the huge labels, but labels with a good enough imprint and that you respect, they'll tell you if your tracks aren't good enough.
Mm.
How did that work when you were like self-releasing?
And it's weird. It's like you just have to be like annoyingly, I don't know, like self-aware almost, to be like, is this good? Do I think this is good? And you can't get rid of it, like your ego, but you have to just put it at bay, because there's a point where like, no, this is really good, like I did really good, and then you're like, as soon as you put it out, like, why doesn't anyone listen to this? It's so good. It's like
Yeah.
and then you finally hit that realization. It's like, okay, there are like good parts of it, but as a whole, you could have done better. And do realize that people are listening to your song next to these other ones, and like eventually, if they listen to you long enough, they'll get used to what you're doing and be, I guess, more accepting. But there still is always just like this unknown level or like bar to reach. And there's your own level, which I guess answers kind of more of your question, is like, I know what I like to listen to, and I know what I feel makes a good song or a good
Mm.
track. So I just kind of, you really have to think about it. It's kind of, if you write things down, make lists, do that. If you keep it in your head, do that. But you have to be like acutely aware of these things. So and I know you're not supposed to like qualify art and things in a certain way.
Mm.
But when it comes to like trying to put together a project, like an EP, say 3 or 4 tracks, you want them to kind of relate to each other.
Mm.
You want them to sonically sort of sound the same. You want to put it in another business term, a package with artwork and
Yeah.
naming, and it is necessary, but it doesn't have to be as like daunting or, I don't know, evil as it might sound. It can
Mm.
just be like, you have to find your way to do it. And to like for me, I think I've always been kind of a good critic of myself, of just being aware of like, is this the best I can do? Or either it's the best I can do right now and I'm still learning, or it's like, okay, go back to that, keep working on it. Then there's the kind of the good side of comparison, like listen to your favorite,
Yeah.
producer. What do they do? It's like, okay, well, I can't mix down as well as Alex Perez, but I mean, some of my ideas kind of work, and I can get as close to that as I can for
Yeah.
this project. And the next project, I try to get a bit closer.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you just kind of work and work and work to do, like, try to make it the project as best as you can. And outside of yourself, you have to be able to have like at least a friend or someone else you can trust to like give you that good feedback, tell you, hey, this is terrible, or not. Well, if they're your friend, they'll probably tell you it's terrible right off. They're like, but you can work on this, and you can work on this. But then they're like, I know what you normally make. I know what you're trying to aim for. So let me help you push you towards that. Just
Mm.
somebody you can just for another set of ears, just to be like, hey, this is good, or this is on the way, or something like that. Like they're your own like personal A&R
Yeah.
almost,
Yeah.
just to help you out. And it's just kind of going back and forth with all of that. It's a lot, and I'm not even touching it all, but just like trying to like think of it as just like I really thought of this every day. That's why no one likes me. It's like I can't tell you what happened in the news, but I can talk to you about promotion strategies and all this stuff all day. But yeah, it's such a process.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of like how I started with. It's just being like aware of yourself and of what you want and what you're trying to achieve, and just basically not settling for less. And if you
Mm.
do, not necessarily less, but settle for the idea that you can do better next time,
Mm.
and you can keep progressing. Like your next EP doesn't have to be next week. You can just take a month or two,
Yeah.
and you're balancing around this all around like your regular life. So it's like
Mm.
nothing, like you're on your schedule at that point. You can do things as you want. The pressure is you and like your expectations, and you're trying to live up or rise up to your expectations. So part of that is good because like you know what you want, you have your idea of what you want, and you want to reach that. But you also have to keep in mind of, am I asking myself too much, or am I being too
Yeah.
hard on myself? And see, I'm just gonna keep going in the circle. It all relates, but there's so much to think about.
No, yeah. I think it's always a tricky balance between being like self-critical and self-aware, but not
Yeah.
overthinking everything.
Mhm.
Like, and I mean, like talking like beyond music and just like mental
Yeah, yeah.
well-being and stuff. It's like you don't need to question everything that you're feeling or thinking all the
Mhm.
time, but there is that level of self-awareness that is
Yeah.
important. And I like the idea of expectations, and I've talked about this in the past, to have like it's important to have dreams, but it's
Mhm.
important to have realistic expectations. Like if
Yeah.
if you've been producing for 6 months, like don't compare your early sketch to Alex Perez, for example,
Yeah.
because then you're just going to be
Just gonna be
demoralized.
mad.
And
Yeah.
exactly. So it's important to have or to have expectations. What I usually say is have expectations in line with the work or the effort that you're
Mhm.
putting in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I talk sometimes about like playing at Liquidity, like very long term. That would be like a dream. But right
Yeah.
now I'm never DJing. I've never DJed live or anything. So that's more like a dream. Like it's not a
Mhm.
expectation, so to speak, because I'm not like putting in the work to do it. So yeah, it's all about finding that balance.
Mhm.
And just to close off on the like self-release thing and doing everything yourself, I think one positive aspect as well is that you get to touch and try new things. Like
Yeah.
for example, graphic design. Like maybe you've never done it, you try it, and then you
Oh yeah.
realize, wow, I love this, and then that's like a whole new avenue that you
Mhm.
can explore and have fun. And it comes back to something you've talked about before on your channel and podcast, like just the importance of just trying things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something I really echo, is like, just try. Like, what's the worst that can
Yeah.
happen?
That's mean, that's all. If I do anything, it's just try. That's if this idea works, awesome. If it doesn't work, you either try and figure out why it didn't and then try it again, or just like table it for later or never do it again and never speak of it, you know? But at least you tried.
Yeah.
That's always worth it, at least once.
Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about? Because I have a ton of like different topics we could go into, from YouTube to podcasting to your latest EP. We haven't even touched on it.
That works if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, let's, because I do want to touch on it. Obviously, it's your first project on Hospital as a signed artist, so let's touch on it. But I do want to talk about your podcast and your YouTube, so let's make sure we touch on that too.
Okay.
So Sandalwood Nights, three-track EP. Tell me a bit about those tracks. Were they like written after you signed? Were they like old demos that you like? How did that come together?
That's a good question. I think most of them. I think they were all written in the last year, at least. I think the oldest one might be Everything and More. Like that was just like an instrumental I kind of had a while back. I mean, all of them. I can say that about all of them. They are instrumentals. But yeah, I think that was like one like last year or something. And then the other one, Sandalwood Nights, was another one. And then the most recent one is I love saying this name, Snooze Button Roller.
You're pretty proud of that
good
one.
name. Yeah. Man. It was such a, and that was like a good day or two of just like, what do I call this track? Like, this is what I land on. Yeah. But that one was actually started in like April. That was the most recent one, I think.
Okay.
I had like,
That's super recent.
Yeah. I think I might have like done most of it on like a Twitch stream or something, and then finished it like the next week, and then sent it. And they're like, "Yeah, we want this one," because that was like around the time, like the deadline was. But yeah, I think the first track that really came together was, I think Everything and More, because the instrumental was done and it was basically they're like, "We think a vocal would be really cool on this." So we already reached out to Pete Simpson, and he said he wants to do it, and he's gonna email you some vocals. I'm just like, are you serious? Like, how am I supposed to work with this legend of a person who can just like, I can name like, yeah, it's Pete Simpson. I mean, like, what? I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I'll work with him. I guess he's okay. It's like, no, this is who do you, me? You want to work with me? It's not another one of those like. Not only have you signed me, you've also asked me to work with this ridiculously good vocalist who not only did like 30 tracks of vocals and harmonies, he also like sent like keyboards and guitars and all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
As like a sketch before like the final things were even done. I was just like, all right, this is serious. I guess I gotta really do this and put this track together. And for the most part, it was pretty smooth. It was just like he sent vocals; they were already kind of done. I just like edited a little bit and just kind of worked the arrangement a little bit. I'm pretty sure the instrumental's exact same. Like he tried switching it up around a little bit, and me being stubborn and also just kind of lazy was just like, nope, I'm just gonna move your vocals around. And then we all like it was nothing big. And then, but I thought I was done. Like a week before deadline, which was like June 7th. So like the week before that, I was like, here you go, here's the track, we're done, right? They're like, yeah, a few mix tweaks. It's like, cool. Is that it? Like a few days before. And then they're like, well, the beginning feels a bit empty. And it's a little too late to find another vocalist. So what do you think about doing this? I was like, you guys are asking so much here. I am here with, like, I can't.
I'm doing you a favor here.
Yeah. It's like, I can't, like, how am I supposed to be next to, like, Pete Simpson, you know? Like, this is, like, I have a level of confidence, but I don't have that much confidence, you know? And not only did they, like, like if I had time, maybe like we could have workshopped it and like improved it. I'd have. I probably wouldn't have said no to like me trying it,
Mm,
but I did that the day before I had to turn it in.
Jesus.
Like that was an entire day of like me waking up and like because I couldn't sleep, so I was just like I'm just gonna write this, and it might just be like 32 bars or whatever. But that's the hardest thing in the world when you
Mm.
don't do that every day, and you're also like, what if this isn't good and they reject it and I don't have an EP and I get dropped from the label and no one ever hears about me again?
And then I
That whole
die.
yeah, exactly. That whole spiral of rational thoughts
Yeah.
to what if, you know? And then I just spent the day just like, all right, more coffee, more coffee. Okay, we got to edit this. I got to make myself sound decent. Oh, they're being loud upstairs because I was at like back in like my parents' house then. It's like someone's watching TV. I can't record right now. The air conditioning's on. I need to quit and just tell them I can't do it. But I was just like, nope, no excuses. I just sat in like a room all day, just like I don't know what time it is, but I got to finish this track. I just
Yeah.
got to do it. And I mean, I could go on all day, but I mean, it happened.
Yeah.
Like it worked. And then I just learned that. Then I come to learn that the deadline isn't as hard as I thought, as hard as I put it on. So then like the next week comes around because like it's a business, so no one answers emails on the weekends. So I waited till Monday to figure it out. They're like, yeah, this is good. Just kind of work on it a bit more. Maybe add like a harmony. I'm like, all right, I can do that. Cause for like I did all of it. Like Thursday was basically a long like studio session, and then Friday was like, "Is it good? Just tell me, are we okay?" And no one emailed me back, so I emailed Johnny Mike Kiss. I'm like, "How hard are these deadlines? Because I don't know if I made it or not." He was like, "It'll
Yeah.
be cool. Just like wait till the weekend's over." And then I'm like, "Yeah, this is good." I was like, "You know what? I'm too tired to challenge you on this. So I'm just going to accept that you think it's okay." Yeah. And
That
yeah, finish up the rest, and here we go. There it is.
that's it's funny about deadlines because that's like one thing coming back to like the interviews I was doing for jobs, and it's one question they ask you all the time is like, okay, you
Mm,
have a strict deadline, you have these two projects you have to deliver, how'd you
yeah,
deal with it? Like it's the standard question. And what I've learned is like one of the good answers is first questioning the deadline. Like
mm,
if how strict is the deadline? If it's an internal deadline or is it a
yeah,
customer, whatever. Often these deadlines can be pushed,
mm,
you realize, but I get where you're coming from. Like they give you a date, it's your first project. It's like
yeah.
either I deliver or I'm out.
Exactly. It was. I definitely like just got as usual caught up in my own head more than I needed to be.
Mm,
Like it wasn't like here's the deadline or you're gone. It was here's the deadline. We just want to make sure because we have a tight release schedule and we want to get everything done.
yeah.
And like after you rationalize things, after freaking out about it for a while, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. What was I worried about?
Yeah, but
After the fact.
it's always looking back. It's always looking back.
Yeah.
But talking about like just being in your own head, because that's
Mhm.
one topic I wanted to talk to you about is your like singing and recording
Mhm.
your own vocals. Like, how did that process come about to feel confident enough to
Mm.
start recording? Like not just like rapping at first or whatever you want to call it, rapping
Yeah.
or more singing later on. Um, when did that kind of start? When did the idea appear? When did you feel confident enough to do it?
That was is my I keep calling it like my like quarantine project 'cause that's kind of when it started at like the beginning of 2020. Like so many people like taking up art or like woodworking, and here I am trying to like talk into a micro like sing into a microphone. Like I have some experience like singing like throughout my I guess life of like singing like choirs and stuff through school or when I was younger in like church or things like that. So or just like singing in the car or something like you're going somewhere like yeah. So it's like I have and then I'm like I don't know, like I've had lessons as like a musician and most lessons and like things like you learn, you can like if it coach yourself it's just almost like any instrument more or less. It's like, oh, you tried this, that's not how you want the sound. Well, try this differently or learn to and So like me playing the viola is like relax your arm, like move your arm this
Yeah.
way. Like so as you try to transfer it to like breathe more calmly, relax your shoulders, project, which is me being loud is that's not two things that go together. Like, I'm glad I have a mic and I can turn it up because I'm just like always just kind of like this.
Yeah.
Talking and like are you tired? It's like no, I'm just kind of relaxed.
Yeah.
I'm just really yeah. And they're like, oh, you're a teacher. It's like, how does that work? It was like every now and then I can just be loud, but then I
Yeah.
have to go back like, sorry guys, I don't know what happened there, or something like that. But yeah, it was just kind of like my project of here's this instrument I have. I guess I mean the voice is an instrument more or less,
Yeah.
and I can just learn to use it more and more. And what's funny is like my confidence, I guess, being in front of a microphone grew from like doing this, like
Mm.
podcasting or YouTube videos, and just constantly hearing my voice and just getting used to that because that's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It's just like over and over, you might be editing something or editing a video. It's like, is that really how I sound? It's like my whole life I've been talking to people and no one's just pushed me away because I sound like this.
Nobody's ever told me.
Yeah. It's just like, man, this is what people hear every day. I should be more quiet. No, I'm just kidding. But just like getting used to hearing myself to a point where like, all right, no one's around. No one can hear me. If I fail at this singing thing, if it doesn't work out, no one will ever know.
Yeah. That's true.
So I just like kept going. I kept trying it. And me being me, I'm just going to go all out and just try and do it and the first time I tried ended up being one of the first tracks I had on Gold Fat, which was Snap Out of It. That was the first time I ever tried.
Yeah.
Just like that. And like the process of like a few hours of me just trying to say these things and it's like, why do you sound like that? Do it again. And then why do you look at you? Just being all just unnecessarily self-conscious. And I'm by myself. No one can hear me.
Yeah.
But as I'm like recording, like, what was that sound outside? Who's listening? It's like, no,
Yeah.
no one's there.
It sounds super similar to like because obviously like chatting and recording, it's just like a regular chat. But like the first times I record like off air like intros, like just like you do when you do like solo YouTube videos. Like the first time I was just talking to do the intro of the episode, I was like, you'd say one sentence, then you're like, what am I saying? Like I'm so stupid. Like, make sure nobody's listening. Exactly.
Man, it's just like it's one thing to be, I guess, self-conscious, but it's another to just like wallow in that self-consciousness of the time it takes to edit you doing something and just listening to yourself over and over and like, ugh, mouth sounds and why did I pronounce it that way? And then there's the video part of like, why are you looking over there? The camera's over here.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Why are you scratching?
Yeah, exactly. You notice every single tick you don't normally see and things like that. But I think it helps just if you can like come to terms with it, just how weirdly aware of yourself you become through that whole process. It helps you, I think, get better at it. Just because like you know every little thing, and it's like, so I know like immediately I could be doing something else, but as soon as like I'm in front of a camera or I like have a microphone in front of me, whether I'm just talking or singing or anything, I'm just like immediately I'm in this headspace. This is what I'm doing. Let me sit up. Let me talk with a bit more air. Let me breathe differently. That kind of thing. Like you just prep for it, and it becomes this process of I feel like I know what I'm doing right now. I'm okay with this. There's still like that like, guy on your shoulder, like, what are you saying? You're an idiot. Why are you doing this? But it gets a little bit quieter the more confident you get, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the longer you do it, it's like imposter syndrome. You have it with everything you try.
Yeah.
Like the first time you probably, like that first track with your own vocals on it, you're like, everybody's going to realize I'm a fraud and I shouldn't have done this. And then once it's like the 15th track you're singing on, it's just going to feel normal. And it's probably the same with like hospital. Like your first release is like, I shouldn't be here. And then tense release is going to be. Yeah, it's like normally I'm just on hospital.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm like with tracks and stuff and like producing, like I'm okay with that. Like people can say just about anything. I'm just like, I'm confident. Like if there's one thing I can do well, more or less, it's just write a track. But then the vocal stuff is kind of new, so I'm still like, I don't think I should look at the comments today because someone's gonna say something, and I like looking at comments just because I mean feedback is feedback, and but you do have to realize that some people are just dumb, or some people just want to be mean, and some people like, you know what, he's trying at least, like I can get behind that. Yeah, I am just trying, and it's like I set myself up for these anyway. Like the first one I did, I just did the whole thing and it's like, all right, I'm just gonna send this to Johnny, see what he thinks. I'm not gonna tell him I did the vocals or anything. I'm just gonna
He didn't know?
No, they didn't. They had no idea. I just sent it. I was like, what do you think? Here are the 2 tracks. Do you want them or not want them? Because he did. I was just like kind of finishing up for the project, and I had the idea back then. I was like, this could be useful for the vocal on it. So I just went and did it in like a day and did everything and just that whole process. But I didn't tell them. And then they're like, yeah, this is good. And then released it and all. And I think it wasn't until like it was almost time for release. They're like, who did the vocals? I was like, oh, that was me. They're like, oh, really? And then it was like that whole thing. But like, I didn't say anything. And I didn't say anything when it was released either.
They didn't need like an artist to credit on like Spotify or something like in advance? Or they just thought it was sampled?
They just thought it was a sample.
Okay.
Like most people thought it was a sample afterwards. And I was like, nope, that's me.
Well, it sounds like you, like, probably now it's obvious because I've heard like several tracks where you're on it.
Yeah.
But it definitely sounds like you, like it's...
Now it makes sense. But then it was just like, oh, that was a sample. That's cool.
Yeah, probably out of the blue, it's like, like you don't expect yourself to be singing or rapping on it. So it's like, you don't think of it.
Like everyone since then has definitely just been like, all right, I'm just going to give it a shot. And if it works, cool. And if it doesn't, I guess I'll try and find a vocalist. I'll just stash this instrumental for later and stick a splice sample on it, call it a day. I don't know.
But it must be really cool because it's as you said, like the voice is an instrument. So it's like you can play viola. I guess you can get around a keyboard. I see some like guitars behind you, and it's like you have these different tools to make music, and now you have your voice and like this additional tool that you can bring into tracks. If it works, maybe it doesn't always work, but it's like this additional thing you can integrate, which must feel great.
That's exactly how I like rationalize it. It's just like it's another instrument. Like I'm never gonna be like Winslow, the vocalist, that's like belting out these huge tunes that people are singing along. But like, it's gonna be me, if anything. It's just gonna be like an authentic kind of performance, and I just want to get better as best as I can, or try to like get away. I guess what am I saying? I'm just trying to like get across like, is the emotion there? Is the what I'm trying to convey there in the vocal? Is it technically a sound, like in key, rhythm, all that? Is my performance authentic to what I want? Then it's good. Like I can't sit here and compare myself to like, I don't know, any more like bigger sound. Like I'm not going to be Charlotte Haining, I'm not going to, but I'm also not going to be like DRS, I tried. No one's heard that, but like, it's just not me, So I got to figure out, and through this process, like what can I do vocally that is me? Because again, like I can write an instrumental. I know that guy. But who am I as like the vocalist? That's been more or less what I've been kind of working on, and I think I'm getting closer to that.
But I don't know. That must be just a great journey to be on. Like just trying to discover. It kind of sounds similar to when you were talking about being a YouTuber and like finding your own voice and not being the guy that says hey, like subscribe, like and stuff. Like you're not that person. You're very laid back and mellow, and it's about just like finding, like I don't have a super when I listen back to my intros, like I don't have a super like energetic style or anything,
Yeah.
and that's just like the way I am, very like chill.
Mm.
So I guess it's similar with singing. Like it's just like as you said, you're probably not going to be singing these huge anthems that,
Yeah.
that the whole festival
Yeah.
is singing back, but that's fine. It's like finding you, yeah, what do you want to represent? What do you want to bring to your
Mhm.
songs? And that, yeah, I don't know. That must be a great feeling, like to be on that path.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like any, it's kind of like producing, I guess. Like in the beginning, it's all new and fresh, and you're just kind of figuring everything out. And like everything's new, everything's just like, I want to do it again. All right, I did it. Let's do it again and try to do it better.
Yeah,
So it's kind of that constantly chasing the progression of things. Like I don't know where it's going to end up, but I know like right now, I feel like I'm in a more confident like space. Like if someone was just like, "Hey, can you put a vocal on this track?" I wouldn't sit there and be like, "I don't know." Are you sure? But I'd be like, "Okay, just give me like a few days and I'll figure it out." And then we'll just kind of go back and forth. Like you let me know. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Would,
it's fun.
would you
It's fun. Yeah, I think.
would you consider like doing vocals for other people down the line, or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
that's what you
think.
want to build towards?
I mean, just having the capability of doing
Mm.
it. Like I'm always just gonna be like the producer first, I think, but there's always just like if you need a vocal, I can do it. Or it's just like if I need a vocal because I mean that's kind of how it came out of basically like I don't want to like find a sample pack vocal because that takes forever honestly, and then a
Yeah,
lot of times most people have used them,
yeah,
and I'm too like for a while so long I was just like I don't know if I can just like reach out to a vocalist. Like, how does that work? Like, I can't pay them if they want anything.
mm.
So there's like, well, I'll just buy myself a mic and I'll try and figure this out myself. And now
Yeah,
here I am, just like I made my bed and now I'm in it.
yeah.
I'm the vocalist now.
Is there also a dimension of like, I'm probably like fetching a bit here, but like being able to like express other emotions also,
Mhm.
like through lyrics? Because obviously you can express a lot of emotions through
Yeah.
piano and violin, but does it also bring you a new dimension of being able to express other things?
Oh, definitely. I mean, first off, it's just like the voice is just like a really expressive like instrument, not necessarily like my voice or anything, but just like voice in general. It's like you get so much more out of it of just like every little nuance of just how like you might say things or say a word or a phrase or something. And then it's not like this abstract feeling of this piano, maybe he's feeling a bit happy, but oh, it went minor, so he had a bad day that day. It's like, no, I'm saying exactly how more or less, I'm saying how I'm feeling or the
Yeah,
feeling I want you to feel kind of thing. So it's a bit more direct and it's easily more relatable. And I think that's why like a lot of like they haven't all been like overwhelmingly positive to like me trying like doing vocals and stuff, but people gravitate to it or accept
mm,
it because you can really like hear I guess what I've been trying to convey in other
yeah,
tracks and things. And because I'm so vocal, I guess around just the song, you get a better picture and you almost kind of like maybe this isn't the most technically great thing, but I feel what he's saying
yeah,
and I get what he's trying or what he's trying to say in his words and stuff. So I connect with it on a more of a human level instead of this is a really good song with a really good singer and I
yeah,
just like
yeah,
it to, and I
yeah,
think that that to me is more what I want is just like the you understanding more, I guess, directly whatever I'm thinking
yeah,
of or going through or something like that. And I think that's like one good thing of just vocals or the voice in general. And like same reason for like the YouTube videos or podcasts, like I can write it down or something in like a quick paragraph, but if I'm just like sitting here explaining to you and then going through the thought process, and then with me being me, just going all in circles and weird tangents, but then it eventually hits that point and
Yeah,
you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. And you heard me say it, and then there's like the video aspect, like he's really thinking about this. And you can see
yeah,
like the wheel turning, and it's like, now I got to the end. Now you understand. And it's just like, it's much more relatable, I think.
yeah,
And it just adds the extra dimension to a song, I
yeah,
guess, or anything really.
yeah. Definitely feel what you're saying, especially with regards to your song Amore, which is one of my favorite of yours.
Okay.
I love that track, and again, like in those lyrics, you're pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Like is the because there's like a tape message
Mm.
voicemail in the middle. Was
Yeah.
that your
Yeah.
partner or girlfriend or?
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool, man. That's
That was
what
like a last minute thing.
that's what I was like imagining when I heard it. I'm
Mm.
like, he probably lifted this off from his own phone, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure, so I want to make sure I asked you. That's so cool, man. Because there's that voicemail, and then you start rapping afterwards. Like, I'm thinking about you every day, and yeah, it might not be the most like technically proficient, perfectly mixed down, recorded, whatever. But it definitely comes through that you mean what you say, and it comes
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
entire track. And to me, it's at least that track speaks to me on that level. So I'm guessing it speaks to a lot of other people as well. It's vibe over technicality is a
Yeah. It's
common
definitely,
theme.
especially that it was definitely like, I could have mixed it better, whatever you're saying, but it was just like, that was kind of early, I guess, in the me getting used to vocals and things, because like that was like all the harmonies and whatever. I'm just like, man, like why am I doing this to myself? But at the same time, it was fun to do.
Yeah,
And I think kind of like you said, like it reaches you like on a more just like personal kind of level. And that's what I was going for. But then you like reminded me, like there's that side. It's like, yeah, I get it. But there's the side of, this isn't drum and bass. What is this guy talking about? I just want the instrumental. It's cool. What is he yammering on about though? I don't know why I just remembered that. But I'm like, that misses the whole point of it.
yeah,
Point like that is definitely not like I'm gonna bang it out in the club and double drop it with this and this.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely just like a sit back, just kind of not meditative, but just like introspective kind of thing. And
yeah,
it was me just kind of more or less, I mean, vocals is just altogether is just like a really like kind of vulnerable space.
yeah,
But like it was, for me, like doing it, it was just like almost like therapy or whatever. Like I'm not too much of like a bottle my emotions kind of person, but that was like, all right, not only am I making this, that's fine, but I'm letting other people listen to this.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's really like, yeah, opening your, because you can, again, you can put emotions in piano chords, but it's always kind of secretive in a way, because
Yeah.
it's like you're the only one that truly knows what you meant with specific chord changes, for example. But once you start writing, I think about you every day and things like that, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. And it just like, it's on that level of like every time you say it, I'm like, did I really write that cheesy lyric? It's like,
Yeah, but I mean,
that's
that's why it works.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it works. And I think also lyrics don't always need to be super like metaphors and complicated
Yeah.
things of like, it can be straightforward and still speak to you. And the fact that it comes right after that voicemail, it ties into like the story. And also like, just to ramble on that song, because I love it, like the structure of the song also isn't like super conventional, because it feels like the voicemail feels like the breakdown, then you rap, and then there's another like break without drums, and it's more like a, I don't know, like a small a little trip. And I enjoy when you do that a lot, like you stray away from like conventions of having your 4 sections of drop and 2 sections breakdown, then second drop, and you kind of like shift around those conventions.
That's
Yeah.
tough to do. I don't know. I feel like that's like the one track out of like all of them that I was like, I got to do something different. And then it's like, oh, you want to do something different? Because I mean, the instrumental was just kind of that way before.
Mm.
Of just like, let's try and like switch up structures here and there or something. And then it's like, oh, now you're doing all of this, and there's a vocal, and there's this, and it's like,
Mm.
just go overboard.
Yeah,
Not
but it
only
works.
that, yeah, that's the song that um quick fact, but I guess by the way, that's the song like I guess more or less got me noticed by Hospital. That was like
Mm.
out of all the songs and like demos and stuff you sent, like this is the one where we're just like, wow, like
Yeah.
you tried all of that.
Yeah.
Not that it was like again like technically great or ready at that point when I sent it, but they were just like the the risk and the idea that you
Yeah.
just went for it is more in their words what separates you from a lot of other people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I listen to a lot of like drum and bass, a lot of Liquid, and
Yeah.
I've said this before, and I love Liquid, but a lot of it tends to sound similar.
Yeah.
And I still love it, so that's not a
Of
diss,
course, yeah,
a diss or anything. But definitely, like that track, for example, when the harmonies come in at the start, it's like, oh wow, like gospel, or like sorry, I'm not like familiar with gospel, so I might have nothing to.
No,
It's
I
just
mean, yeah.
resonates to me with the word gospel, but it's like, wow, I haven't heard this in drum and bass before. And then there's the voicemail, and then you start rapping, and I recognize your voice, and it's like, this is so new, like it changes all the time. And yeah, I could go on about that track for a long time. But yeah, there's just, because I'm going to slowly wrap this up. But yeah, the other thing, other track I wanted to talk about, I believe on your EP, Sandalwood Nights, the end of the track just goes into this halftime thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want a full halftime version of that song, like a VIP
Yeah.
halftime. Like, why did you just stick like 10 seconds at
It
the
was
end?
that. Just that. I think because that was like an idea for like the break or something at one
Yeah.
point, but I had already, because I was basically working like on all three. Like at one point, I was working on all three of them at the same time. But in the other track, there's a halftime kind of breakdown. I was like, I can't do that in both of them. So then I just kind of like, what if I just do like a little tag at the end that just kind of fades out? And then from that idea, I was like, okay, so this is for Hospital. They're going to ask for an album at some point, which I'm scared of, which is why I haven't mentioned it yet. I was like, at some point, they're going to ask for that. I'm like, I could kind of like call back and just do like a halftime version of like an interlude or something.
Did I just spoil
So-
it?
No, I think, I don't know. I've probably told somebody, but yeah, that's basically the idea of like, there might be like a interlude type version, or maybe just like, well, it's halftime something. I don't know, because it's just
Yeah.
like I think it works, but I didn't want to like do it twice
Yeah, yeah.
in a project.
It honestly, that end of track, it works so well. Like it's like the end of a season in Game of Thrones or something. Like it's the worst cliffhanger. Like it goes into this half step, and I was like, okay, it's gonna kick into this whole new section.
Yeah.
And then it fades out, and you're like, come on.
Yeah, it's also like kind of an Easter egg for people who like skip tracks.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
no,
like if you
absolutely.
skip
Yeah.
before you get to the end, or if you're like mixing and
Yeah.
you never listen to the track the whole way, you don't really know it's there.
Yeah.
But say you're like listening on SoundCloud and you're like, why is there this little bit like fade at the end? Because you can
Yeah.
like visually see the track.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Is that like did they mess up or something? You're like, oh no, it's a whole nother part of the song. But then it's gone after
Yeah.
like 10 seconds.
Because I wasn't watching, like I don't know, doing other stuff or whatever. So I had it on Spotify and listening. And so, yeah, I didn't know the track was ending. I didn't see it. And it just
Yeah.
started fading out. I was like, because honestly, when that halftime starts, it's like so groovy. And it's like, oh yeah, I can dig this. And anyway, so we'll get a VIP one day then. That's a Winslow promise.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I still had obviously like ton of stuff I wanted to chat to you about, but I'm just conscious of time, and I'm sure we can do this again sometime in the future. But
Definitely.
obviously, like signing to Hospital was a huge accomplishment. What's kind of now in your, like, what are your goals? What does your future look like? What do you want to accomplish? You mentioned an album, but like, what are you striving for now?
Yeah. That's gonna come at some point. Every now and then I get in like all right, let's think about an album, like names or concepts or this. Like there was like a week where I was really into it. I was like, do I want to do this? And then eventually that faded because I was like, I can't do this right now. This is entirely too much work. Just yeah, like but that'll happen at some point. Then there's just it's always the just writing more tunes. Like even in like the last week, I've just been like, I gotta write more tunes. It's like, but realistically, like another project isn't gonna be for like 6 months at least, or next year or something like that. There's music I could, but I mean, like I don't need to. I don't have to like force myself to, I guess, do that.
Mm.
So it's just kind of exploring, writing more, taking advantage of hospital as definitely like a resource of whether it's finding other people to collaborate with or um, just like coming up with ideas or I don't know, just anything really. Because I mean, it's not like if I was in the UK or something, it'd be like, oh, you can have like a release party or you can have like your own kind of like night or something. Like, but I'm over here, so I'm like, what can I do? Try and figure things out. But like coming up with ideas is the easy part for me. It's figuring out the rest after that.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, just like kind of see where it goes. It's early, so I mean, like kind of like I started off with. It could be anything, I think, and just again being like annoyingly aware of myself. I know I'll figure it out at some point. Just like, and then what's cool is like I keep saying they like it's one big person that just runs everything, but it's like it's a few people.
It's this big
Yeah.
entity.
Yeah. That's the worst part. Like hospital does this. I'm like, no, it's actually this guy. And
Yeah, I know him.
I'll tell him. Yeah. But they're all like aware of me and the things I already do, so they just kind of suggest stuff. I'm like, I can take care of that. Cool. Yeah. Like I mean, for example, like the announcement video.
Yeah.
It's just like
I
that
love
whole
that.
thing. They're just like, yeah, we'll send you a mug, and you can just be like, yeah, I'm making tea, and I'm on hospital now, and I'm like, I'm just gonna make like this whole thing about it, and then I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
I
there
just
wasn't a word
I
in
just,
that video.
yeah, I just didn't. I didn't even tell them I was gonna do it. I was just like, I woke up one day, it's like, oh, I have this mug. Everyone else is asleep. Let me just try and do this real quick. Just knock it out. Then I sent it to them, and they're like, wow, we didn't expect any of this, or so. But the cool thing is like they're open to me and my ideas. I was gonna say dumb idea. I mean, they're all like kind of like placed in just like being goofy, but it's it's still useful. I don't know. It's me. Like it's not like this is Winslow. He's funny. It's the gimmick. It's like no, I'm just this is what I've been doing for a while. Yeah, so I'm just gonna try and keep doing that, but with the big hospital behind
The
me.
big
I don't
H.
know. Yeah, yeah.
Would like obviously I don't know your like personal situation in the US, but like would moving to the UK ever be like on the cards? Because obviously in terms of like playing live and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's
I think eventually, I mean, like I've always considered it, but I guess now I can actually consider it as just like it could be a career move, that kind of thing.
yeah.
So I mean, eventually, I want to say yeah, it like at least for like maybe a short period of time. I don't know if forever, but I definitely want to at least for like some shows or something, or maybe like fully relocate for like 2-3 years or something like that. At the same time as I say this, my mom is literally every time, oh, I saw you were doing something with those guys in the UK. It's like, do you think are you going to leave me? You're going to move away sometime soon? I'm like,
she's
Mom,
she's
come
like
on.
that.
Yeah. It's like, you're making it big over there in the UK. Are you gonna leave me? I'm like, it's not that serious yet.
Well, it kind of is now. I don't know if she's aware of like what
Yeah.
hospital is or not, but
She's like, I looked over, like that drum and bass is real big over there in the UK, and a lot of artists being real. It's like, all right. It's like it could happen. I don't know,
yeah.
but yeah, like more realistically, probably, I'll definitely be considering it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the UK would love to have you and to just be like where it happens. Like I'm not in the UK either, but I'd love to at least go there once and go to a few shows, because like that's where it happens. Like
it's everything.
yeah, it's everything. So yeah, no, definitely. This has been a pleasure, man. I've loved this chat. I had like 100 questions and I didn't check them out once. We're just chatted, and I love this. So thanks a lot for coming on. Maybe let people know before we shut down where they can reach out to you, or you have a Patreon as well, which we didn't mention, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. We should definitely have a part 2, and then you could just be like, Duncan, can you shut up? I have another question. Like that's completely okay, because I will go like in a circle. But everyone can, I guess, find me just basically anywhere. It's at Winslow XYZ. Yeah, I'm just. If you've listened to this and realized I'm just another person, great. And you can just message me about anything. It's always positive. Always get back to people. I'm not like, famous or big for my boots just yet, Just eventually I'd be like, yeah, just yet, like, I gotta leave the possibility open that I can just be like, no, I'm too good for you. Yeah. It's like, no, that couldn't be me. No. So yeah, I mean, you can always find me at those places, anywhere. You probably have, and you didn't want to. You're just like, damn it, there he is again, doing something. But
with a stupid mug, Jesus, again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But so yeah, Patreon, Winslow, XYZ, and that's your name on most social media. So everybody check out Sandalwood Nights if you haven't yet. Love that EP, and congratulations again on Hospital signing. And we'll do a part 2 someday with a ton of other questions, and I'll just tell you to shut up and so I can get through them.
That's how it can work.
All right. Cheers, man.
Thanks.
Thanks.